Going live. And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because I am looking through my collection of beers and still trying to find something that I actually like. Alright, I've found a couple, but it's kind of hit or miss. Part of this is to follow through with the old adage, sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, pretty much everywhere. You can find me under that name, Shujin. Hi. Introduce you, everybody. Seems to be the standard lineup at the moment. From the Midwest of the U.S., Bridget, good evening.
Good evening.
From off to the right, over on the right coast, Unredo Tech, hi.
Hi, good evening. Morning. Definitely morning.
Good day. And speaking
Good
of
day,
which,
sir.
across the water over to Paris, France, Joseph, good morning.
Well, if he's on the right coast, that would put me on the wrong coast.
No, actually, that doesn't put you anywhere near the coast. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm inland. Good morning.
It's good to be with you all. So, before we get going with stuff, I'm going to warn everybody ahead of time. I have a different keyboard that I'm working with, which is unfortunately louder than normal. So I'm going to be very attentive to, it's going to be what it's going to be. I'm sorry. I'm gonna work with it as best I can if I need to type anything at all. But we'll see how that plays out. So of course, everybody, thank you very much for joining us. If you join us live, of course, you can be chatting up with us over in the live chat, like Felix and Stephanie. Hi guys, good morning or evening, as the case may be. So yeah, I was out earlier this week, and I got me a new build your own 6-pack. So you guys get to help me out because it's a brand new set. So from the glass collection, and I'm going to tell you, I picked stuff this time, a lot of it just because of the names that were on it. 3 Heads Rochestafarian Scotch Ale. Rochestafarian. Yes, from Rochester, New York. Just down the street a ways from me. Let's see. Krabby's Original Alcoholic Ginger Beer. I don't think that I've ever had a ginger beer, so I don't know what to think of that one just yet. I'm not even sure how to pronounce this one. Schwarzbier, I believe it's how it's pronounced. Again, I don't know what to make of it, other than it's got a dude on it that looks like he's ready from the Great White North.
May the Schwartz be with you.
Yes. Let's see, from this corner, Narragansett Dells Shanty. It is a lemon flavored beer.
You got my vote on the lemon.
I don't know why.
If you're going to get through all those before the show's over,
No.
you better get
No. It's one a week, if that. I've also got one that I know full well that my sister in crime, Cheska, might find interesting. So that's called a Bard's Beer.
My SOs drink Bards because of what doesn't go into it. Their food sensitivities.
It contains no wheat, barley, rye, or oats. So it's water, I guess.
It's still it's fermented. It's still an alcoholic beverage.
Okay, and then comes one last one, the large red one. And if my German pronunciation is correct, and trust me, I don't expect that it is, I believe it's pronounced Reisdorf Kolsch. Reisdorf Kolsch. So, I don't know what to make of it. Like I said, I was looking at stuff and it's just like, okay. I'm going by names this time, because why the hell not? This one specifically says on the side of it, ale. 1 pint. So, there you go. Krabby's is good. Not beer, though, just fun. Shanty's is half beer, half lemonade. and hops. Yeah, so I don't I don't know what to go with just yet. I guess we'll kind of figure it out.
Like I said, my vote's lemon. If you're leaving it up to the others.
Sure. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with. So
See that I only vote for that one because I happen to enjoy citrus-based beverages a lot. Anything that preaches itself as orange or lemon, I always try to give it the benefit of the doubt, give it a shot, because you can screw up orange, you can screw up lemon, but I've noticed it's a little harder to screw those up than, like, say, some of the ones that preach themselves as blackberry or whatever.
yeah. Not to mention that if you really want to go ahead and screw up a taste, watermelon. Industrial watermelon does not taste like...
No.
Yeah, no. So,
No.
yeah, okay.
There is one of those waters out there, those bottled waters where it has the fruits on them, and it's not a seltzer. It just they just market themselves with, we put in a bit of fruit juice for flavoring and water, and that's it. And there's one that's watermelon, and it actually tastes like, imagine chilling a watermelon, cutting it in half, and then the juices that are in the bottom of the bowl, you're drinking that. That's what it tastes like.
Okay.
If I can figure out the name of it, if I can remember the name of it, I'll let you know.
Okay. Well,
because it's great on a hot day.
Yeah. Going by your recommendation, because I mean, when was the last time I actually listened to you for pretty much anything?
Hopefully never.
Well, for what it's worth, by the way, I did end up quoting Digital Dog Cow on something earlier today, so that was good.
Yeah, well, all hail the canine bovine.
Yes, moof. So yeah, all right. We'll try the shanties, the lemon flavored beer. Yeah, made on honor. I don't know. Part of the reason why I picked this one, Narragansett, is because near where I grew up, there was a rental hall, if you can quite call it that, called the Narragansett Inn. It no longer exists, but it was like the highfalutin place, in the township, where if you wanted to go for something special, that's where you catered. So, okay, we've seen this color before. It's rather pale, and I did get at first the beer smell. Shortly after, I got the lemon smell while it was still, on the counter over here. And oh wow, that's kind of weird. It's almost got like a lemon cola, not that lemon lime cola smell. Just wow.
Right, it's as if you took Coca-Cola and put real lemon in it, right?
That's...
Well, you didn't spit it out.
No.
So, I mean, that...
No, I don't do that with any of them. This one's a little bit different. This one's gonna have to roll around for a little bit before I can really make a determination. This has got a different taste from pretty much everything else. I mean, it's still got that beer in there, but the lemon is there, but not, and a little bit more bitter than I was expecting. But I don't know. Again, it could be a matter that it needs a little bit more time to, warm just a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Anyway, so we got that all going on, and we will see how this plays. So let me get things started, because we actually do have a new Horoscope this week, and we'll get around to that in just a couple of moments. So, with 5 minutes on the clock, let me go ahead and get you started. Your 5-minute freestyle starts right now. Regulated. Oh, God, isn't that just the bane of everything Republican for years and years and years? Regulations are the bane to industry. Oh, good. Just put a sock in it. Regulations are what kept us from having children in mines instead of in classrooms. Regulations are what kept people from dying in coal mines instead of, being safe. Regulations are what are intended to make sure that, again, you don't have to write new rules in blood. As Dallin has reminded us on several occasions before, every safety manual is written in blood. We joke about safety warning labels that, what which jackass did this that we had to have a warning label for this now. Okay, yeah, we can make fun of that. And I get that. I understand. Maybe it's not the greatest of ideas in the world, but there are certain things that need to be regulated, that need to be overseen. And fine, you can go ahead and follow that further down and further down and further down and eventually come down to who watches the watchers. You know what? That's the point. There should always be somebody overlooking. There should be, at the very least, a method whereby somebody else is able to oversee somebody else, who's overseeing somebody else, who oversees somebody else, who oversees the guy that oversees the first group in the first place. The whole idea of it being one big circle to make sure that everybody else is keeping everybody else on their toes, I mean, it makes perfect sense. You don't need to have mutually assured destruction over your shoulder just to make sure that everybody's doing their job right. We should expect that people are going to do what they should do correctly, safely, in the rules. But the problem is, we have to trust in exactly that people are going to do the right thing, and we can't always do that. We've had situations on too damned many occasions where people simply, left to their own devices, do not self-regulate. We saw that with industry. For years, decades, hundreds of years, like I said, coal mining was dangerous. Still is. But at least you don't have to worry about people just every couple of weeks dying from a cave-in. And then here in the United States, you've got that word that is such a problem child for the people that want to self-regulate themselves. The whole thing with our Second Amendment, the right to gun ownership, depending as to how you read it and how you interpret it, because there is a small problem of a comma that changes the meaning. Who knew such a lowly little piece on the bottom of a sentence could throw a country into a tizzy for over 200 years? But these people need to be regulated. Things need to be regulated. It's just the nature of things. The universe has it all unto itself that 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom, they put themselves together with a little bit of heat, and all of a sudden you've got water. It's the nature of things. And you heat that up too much, well, it disassociates. It's no longer regulated by those same rules. It follows different rules. And every time it gets hotter by each stage, those rules keep changing and breaking down. Regulation is important in society. Because if you don't have it, people get burned. Watch out for each other, huh? This is episode number 357 on the docket, Your Honor. Taking aim at consequences. Now, I know, 357. Some people are hearing that and they're just like, 357 Magnum. Yeah, we could do that. That's the whole Dirty Harry thing. Yeah, I didn't want to talk about guns entirely, and in the abstract, of course, I don't have a problem with that. But I didn't want to go that route, considering the news story that came out, the day after we recorded our last show, and all of a sudden, here's this news story that's just blam. Okay, we've got a topic. It doesn't always happen that way, but this particular time, yeah, this time it absolutely has to happen. So we're going to end up talking about the consequences that some of these, dare I say, dumbasses have to go through. And unfortunately, we have to be along for the ride with them because they're a pain in the ass. And it's not all, in its own little separate bubble. I did go up looking information for Rafe Badawi. There is no new information as yet. He is still in prison. So, as of the recording of tonight's show, it has now been, where are my numbers? 8 years, 9 months, 22 days since Rafe was unjustly incarcerated for thought crime. Our hopes and thoughts are still with you and your family. We are still waiting. We are still hoping. And we're just going to kind of still be here. So, otherwise, folks, I got new horrible scopes because last week I kind of took the week off because I kind of needed it. So, what do you think, guys? You want to go ahead and have a little bit of fun before we go ahead and lambast all these people for being terms that I said I wasn't going to use for the rest of the night?
God, what did you put in the horrible scopes this time?
Oh, just wait. Just wait. You will see how this plays out. So, folks, for those of you that know what your astrological signs are, cool. Those of you that don't, borrow somebody else's homework, copy off of them. It doesn't matter. You can just figure it all out for yourselves. The horrible scopes are here for your entertainment only. Please, no wagering on the sideline. Let me get you rolling. Aries, don't go to the company party. 3 words. Blunt force trauma. No, you're not going to get into a fight. But if that manager, Brian, tells a story about how he knew his whole department was getting laid off and didn't say anything to anyone, and he's proud of that one more time, you're going to concuss yourself slamming your head into the table. So, yeah. Don't go.
Taurus, when people ask you how you're doing, they actually care about you. So tell them the truth, that you're inching along and feel like a tornado in a sloth suit. You need to slow down your mind and take care of yourself. You'll be back up to speed, outside and inside, in no time.
Gemini, just when you want to retreat into yourself for a while, your inner child has rearranged all the furniture. You were always that kind of brat. Parents were nice about it. So, do your penitence. Go to the Lego store, buy a small kit, throw the 1x1 cubes around before you go to bed, and try not to scream when you step on one in the dark.
I am so proud of you that you actually pronounced that right the first time. Well done.
You know my background.
Yes, you've watched all the Indiana Jones movies along with me. That's where I get that one from.
Okay.
Cancer Moonchild. Let's face facts. You are a hilarious drunk. Oh, not to you, but to all the people commenting on your Instagram and TikTok accounts. Complaining that you can't log into your Vine account while drunk is the stuff of a meme legend. Meme
Legend, yes, that's perfect. Leo, your friends think you're afraid of taking risks. The specific term they've used is chicken crap. Do you know what? They're right. And what's wrong with that? Fear is a valid survival trait. There's an expression. There are old pilots and there are bold pilots, but there are very few old, bold pilots.
Virgo. Good looks and a charming personality can only get you so far in life. Since you have neither, please consider adopting an unusual pet, like an ostrich. Just remember there is a difference between them and emus. One made an appearance on the Red Green show. The other can be ridden like you're playing the video game Joust in first person.
Libra. Look, Libra. We just... last time we told you to call yourself an analog to digital recording medium technician. Putting A to D on a self-printed business card left people wondering if that was some kind of porn term they didn't know anything about. Stop using it. And don't call yourself a techno mage either. That's just dumb.
Joseph, you're still muted.
Okay, I'm having serious, yeah.
It's okay. You're Scorpio today.
Oh, I'm Scorpio. Okay.
Yes, you are today.
Yeah, I rolled a nat 1. You're Scorpio.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. Do I get an extra damage score?
No.
Scorpio, you will claim that your next shower will be interrupted by a large, mildly poisonous insect. Except it's a cute little jumping spider that looks like Lucas. The term you need is venomous, not poisonous. Assuming it could even bite you into your skin, and even then it's less dangerous than a mosquito bite. And spiders are not insects. Just stop saying that. They're closer to horseshoe crabs than insects, for crying out loud.
It's true.
I love Lucas.
Lucas is adorable as all hell. Yep. Sagittarius. You know that the term Jello is a specific brand name, right? So when you told people that you don't buy Jello shots, we believed you. Until today. Look what we found in your DNS request log. A website called I spell slrrp.com. Yes, slurp.com. A bucket with 20 gelatin shots made with 6 times filtered vodka. And it's vegan friendly. You have a choice here. Own up to having a drinking problem, or to your weird shopping history. One is going to be easier than the other for people to accept, and we're not going to help you try to make that determination.
Hey, all vodka is vegan friendly.
It's not the vodka that's the vegan friendly part. It's not made from animal gelatin.
No, what I'm saying is it doesn't matter about the gelatin because all vodka is vegan friendly.
Yeah.
We're going. Improve your love life and get new sheets. No, really, get new sheets. Normally, you only buy them when they tear in the washing machine. That's true. So how about you just splurge on a nice set for a change? Egyptian cotton, 200 thread count. Oh, sure, it'll cost a little bit, but aren't you worth it? Or just get the crappy subpar stuff they use in chain hotels and imagine you're on vacation.
Crappy stuff at the hotel is 200 thread count. Egyptian cotton's 2,000 to 4,000. I've bought my own bed sheets before.
I write what the stars tell me, man. I don't know.
I'm just saying, it does make a difference, though. Really.
The stars know the difference between arachnids and insects.
No,
don't give
that's
me
not what I
shit
meant.
about them.
That's not what I meant. I meant that if you trade out regular bed sheets for a high count thread, you're going to have a great time. Aquarius. Claiming you continue to smoke because you have a strong sex drive isn't fooling anyone anymore. It's not about your sex drive at all, is it? It's because of that damn Zippo lighter you modified to put out a flame about 8 inches tall. Sure, it impresses the hell out of people when you do your John McClane impression. Come on out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs. But seriously, how many times do you have to burn off your eyebrows before you accept that this is too dangerous? I may have seen the movie a few times.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
I've lost count. The only movie I've seen more than Die Hard is Shrek. I can quote the entire movie.
Pisces. The sky's the limit. But when have you ever stopped at someone else's rules? Did you get off that guy's lawn when he told you to? Of course not. Did you stop using the British "you" on your spelling test, even though the teacher told you to? Of course you didn't. And did you agree with Gallica that the Euless was too ugly to save? So you think about it, all that, and where it's brought you in life.
There are going to be some people who are really wondering where that reference comes to, and
Yeah, that kind of,
I'm just saying, it's not the next to last Starfighter.
yes, it was.
It's the last Starfighter.
So those are your horrible scopes for this week. Congratulations on getting through them. If you enjoyed them, wonderful. If you didn't, you could have gone ahead and bribed us, but you didn't, so you got what you paid for, so tough. You're welcome. So let's go ahead and have a little bit of a discussion about this thing. So the story that came out, and Tech, it was you that originally posted it, wasn't it?
Yeah, I saw it. So I am a frequenter of Reddit. I love it. There's a lot to hate about Reddit. There's a lot to love about Reddit. But the one thing I can definitely say about Reddit, it is not Facebook. It is not Twitter. It is not YouTube. Reddit is its own animal and it's its own ecosystem. Love it or hate it. It's one of the few systems. People think Facebook is quick to update when there's natural disasters around the world. Reddit's faster. Every time. Sometimes by hours, sometimes by minutes, sometimes by days, depending on what's going on, but it really is. And one of the forums I frequent is called Public Freakout, where people take video of other people freaking out. Sometimes I want to see what people are freaking out about. Not because I enjoy watching somebody freak out, but I want to see what is causing people to lose their minds. And what caught my attention was the fact that there was a restaurant in Vancouver, British Columbia, called Corduroy, if I remember correctly.
Doesn't matter.
Well, anyway, the Vancouver restaurant was being visited by health inspectors and somebody who is from like the liquor license inspector or whatever, or liquor license board or whatever it is that they have up there. I'm not too familiar with their team. And they were breaking the rules in the restaurant. There were people walking around with no masks on. Now, when you're in a restaurant, if you're eating, yeah, your mask is off. But if you're sitting there, you're not consuming anything, you're walking around, you're not consuming anything, and you're just chatting with people, you're just mingling, your mask needs to be on. There's also limits to how many people can be inside and everything. They were breaking all the rules. And when they got hold of the owner to say, hey, you've got to rein this thing in. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. The lady stood her ground, declared her womanhood, and the restaurant and patrons started chanting, get the hell out. And, you have these few inspectors who are vastly outnumbered. They have two choices: get out or call the police and start issuing citations and things like that. I would have liked to have seen them done the latter, but I digress. Their safety was paramount. And you know, this sets a bad precedent. Now, the restaurant was shut down for 2 days. They tried to cover it up by saying they ran out of food, and so they were going to take some time off and spend it with their family. But we've seen this behavior before. And we also see what happens to some of these restaurants. Some of these businesses get permanently shut down, or they lose their liquor license, which is kind of a death toll for some restaurants, depending on what neighborhoods they're in and locations and things like that. So overall, it's bad. It's high risk of spreading the virus around. Bad examples, encouraging bad behavior with the general public as well as businesses. It's breaking rules, laws, and more importantly, people seem to forget that the more people that are exposed to the virus live or die, the virus gets a chance to mutate. And Bridges just reminding me, pointing out to me that they got their license revoked, and that's basically a nail in the coffin right there. Their restaurant will end up dying from that. If they can't serve alcohol with their barbecue and everything else, people aren't going to come in. They might for a while, but with no liquor license, they're gone. Now, I've met some people who would here in America who would have gladly been part of that group, and their mentality is we have to save small businesses. Well, that's fine. Go get delivery, order extra so that you have leftovers, and that's going to give you a whole bunch. That's going to give them a whole bunch of money. More importantly, it gives you leftovers so you don't have to cook the next day. You get to be a little lazy in that respect.
There's that.
But we're seeing major problems here. We're seeing COVID on the rise. More and more and more cases of COVID-19 all over the place. The pandemic it's the fire, the flames of the fire are being fanned. And they're being fanned by the different variants that are coming into play. And the variants only exist because the virus is giving a medium to mutate in, and that's human beings. The more we spread it around, the more it gets a chance to reproduce, the more it gets a chance to mutate. And that's really bad for humanity, because the more viral it becomes, the more more communicable it becomes, the more spreading around it gets. That means there's more likelihood of a variant to develop that is more deadly. And suddenly we're not looking at, 1 out of however many dying, maybe say, 1,000, just for an example. And the virus mutates and suddenly 1 in 100 die. And then it mutates again, suddenly 1 in 10 is dying. That's a really bad thing. To stop those kinds of things from happening, we have to stop spreading the virus. So when you have people in these restaurants kicking out the health inspectors who are just doing their job to try to help you survive, this is not acceptable behavior for adults. This should not be allowed. This should be enforced. Every single person in there who was chanting to get those health inspectors out should have been fined, if not arrested. That is my opinion. I am not a medical expert. I'm a person who cares about your life. And I don't know who you are. But I do care enough that when I go out, I wear a mask so in the event that I get it, I don't give it to you. Because I just found out a family member of mine has it. And they're having a very hard time. They will most likely survive, but we don't know what the long-term effects are going to be. And there's already some nasty side effects. Is it harder to watch a family member die from this, knowing that you'll never see them again? Or harder to live with it, watching them strain to breathe every day for the rest of their life thereafter? Knowing that, if somebody just wore their goddamn mask, a little piece of cloth, that little old lady down the street from me who's got asthma, she wears 2 layers. She wears the medical mask, and then she wears another cloth one over the top of it. And she's got asthma. If she can do that, what the hell's your goddamn excuse?
Yeah, there's something that I want to show you guys. I gotta do a little bit of video cutesy for a couple of seconds. Everybody, please excuse me for a couple of seconds. I'm going to be turning off the video feed so that I can arrange this. Give me just a second here.
Now, while you're arranging that,
because I'm going to do a.
No, I said while you're arranging that, Ontario has 6. The next day after that article came out about that public freakout, Ontario reported 6,000 new COVID cases. Brazil has 4,000 new cases being caused by their brand new variant that they're getting hit with. And it's hitting them fast and hard.
Yep. So there you go. This is the piece that I'm feeding out to everybody in the group also. Apologies for the thing not quite showing correctly on the video feed for everybody. Anyway, oh, that's why it's doing it that way. Well, that's just a little bit of an annoyance. Apologies on the YouTube feed. This is the way that Discord does it. The point that I'm trying to take a point over here is that the graph that's here is cumulative number of cases by number of days since 10,000 cases. Meaning, once a country has hit 10,000 cases, the clock starts. And this graph is demonstrating what happened with the number of cases after that point. At 100 days, 200, 300, 400 days later that we're at. And looking at the graph, which is color coordinated, you've got listed down here Brazil, India, Iran, Russia, Spain, the United Kingdom, all doing, if not great, at least not nearly as bad as the United States, which is the one in fluorescent lime green. The graph, you start off at about 100 days. It's arguable that each of these countries is roughly par to each other. But then things start changing out over the next 100 days, where at the 200 point, you can easily tell that there is a difference between what's happening with Brazil, India, and the United States, jumping up quite a bit by comparison to the rest. By 300 days, a year out, it's fair to say that the United States is the foregone forerunner at that point. At the 300 day point, the United States is at 20 million cumulative cases at that point. The closest after that is India at about, let's call it 11 million. Reminding you that India has a population that well and truly exceeds the United States. And
not only do they exceed it, but their population areas are more densely packed together with people side by side in comparison. You go to New York City and walk before the pandemic and before 9/11 even. If you walk down the sidewalk of New York City and then you were to go to India and walk through one of their markets, you'd be like, wow, New York City's kind of roomy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have 4 times the population we do.
Yeah. Yeah. And our numbers simply just skyrocketed for no good reason. But there was another story that was brought to my attention last night by Dallin. Dallin's doing a lot better. He's not with us. He doesn't have the spoons for it tonight. Ask me about that later if you don't understand the terminology. Anyway, so he found this news article last night while we're doing our radio thing. And he didn't tell me what it was at first. And he's like, I got to check this. I got to check this to make sure that this is real. This can't be a Poe. And of course, me, already, I'm thinking to myself, if he's like really invested in this and he's just like, I got to find out, that's weird. The news story, and we both went looking for independent verification. Not only did we both find it, we found out that there is video to prove it. Longtime rock star, and I use the term loosely, Ted Nugent, was part of a Facebook feed thing where he complained that he is addicted to skepticism and truthfulness and things. I'm paraphrasing just slightly, but addicted to was one of the things that he said. His question was, the countries were all shut down for this COVID-19 thing all over the place. But we've had COVIDs before. Why wasn't the country shut down for COVID-1 and COVID-2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, COVID's 1 through 18. Why was the country never shut down for any of those? Dallin saw this. He needed to find out. Come on. Really? This has got to be the frickin' Babylon Bee. This has got to be the Onion. Come on. Yep. It's real. It's real.
Yeah.
And it's in the show notes. And at least one of them has the video that shows him saying it.
He's not the only one who thought that, though. I mean, Kellyanne Conway did, too.
Now, in defense of this kind of thinking,
Oh,
and I know I shouldn't be doing this.
I feel like Vinny Bag of Donuts. I would love to hear this.
Okay. For those of you in the IT community, specifically those who have built computers before and have had to research parts, all I have to say is one company name, and you'll instantly, or most likely know where I'm going with this. Intel. Intel, like many other chip manufacturers and even video game console companies, give code names to things and have one name that they give to the general public when they market something and another name when they're working on a product in-house. So COVID-19 isn't really COVID-19. It's SARS-CoV-2. COVID-19 came about by saying, okay, this is the coronavirus, and this version was discovered in 2019, so we will shorten that to COVID-19. COVID-19 is the moniker for SARS-CoV-2. Okay. COVID-19 is a lot easier to say on television.
I'm sorry. I'm wondering where the defense part comes in now.
The defense is that we're used to Xbox One, Xbox 2, Xbox 3, Xbox whatever, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and that's just video game consoles. We see this a lot in different products. Now, that being said, anybody who wonders, well, where's the other 18 COVIDs? Could have easily have done a Google search and realized, oh, it's just called COVID-19 because this happens to be this particular strain of the coronavirus that was discovered in 2019. That's where the name came from. him making this declarative statement of, well, we survived the other 18 is just demonstrating not only a lack of knowledge, but a willingness to, or an unwillingness to go find out himself before making those statements. Whereas with Intel, I can go to Intel's website and look up these code names for these chipsets. I can go to Microsoft's website for the Xbox. I can go to Sony's website for the PlayStation. I can contact these companies and say, hey, how did you get this nickname for this thing? How did you get this name for this? And it doesn't take very long to find out this information. Ted Nugent is not a doctor or a scientist or anything else like that.
That's...
Sadly, he's a good representation of some of the people in this country. Guns, glory, beer, and have at it. That kind of mentality.
Not underage kids.
Especially so.
That one I don't know anything particular about, so we will say that anecdotally we'll go with that, but legally no.
So like I said, somebody having that initial concept of, well, wait a minute, why COVID-19? What happened to the other 18 before it? That mental thought, I understand that. But rather than using that as a declarative statement of, hey, we survived the other 18 because they were not even big enough to mention, you should go do your research first, and then you'd realize how fallacious your statement was.
Okay. I'm calling a red flag on the play at this point. I know it's a printer cartridge. It's got red on it. It's best. All right.
That's magenta.
Fuck off. I'm calling a red flag on the play because we are a year plus into this whole thing. When it was explained early on, it is the novel coronavirus 2019 by name. It was explained early on what the naming convention was, the super long and the shortened approximation version, so that it would be easier for the rest of the dynamic of everybody else to be able to get around with. Because I don't know about you, but saying Rufus Xavier Sarsaparilla all day is going to go ahead and get me really, really, really slow at the end of the... Yeah.
And how long is the attention span of the average American?
Obviously not 300 plus days.
People get burnout. People have stress. They get anxiety. They forget. They want to forget. They, in some cases, depending on how bad things get in their life, some people feel the need to forget so that they can move forward.
I can understand that.
For the average person, okay, Ted Nugent, he's just an idiot. He really is.
He's just one of the I'm fine, I've got mine clan. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's wealthy as hell.
And all the people there at the concert and him on the stage, they're all, we ain't got nothing, we're fine. So, like, there's no thought to anything outside of that. And basically, a lot of people, they won't think about the illness until they're afflicted.
Oh man, isn't that the case?
Not always. Some people literally are on their
Somebody in the
deathbed
family,
denying it.
Of course, that becomes a little more personal.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it doesn't seem part of the thought process until, and I can even be guilty of that at moments.
Oh sure, I would be absolutely wrong to assume that just because we are who we think that we are, that we can't be duped by something somewhere along the way, including our own heads duping us. It happens. It's going to happen. It will happen again. And it would be madness to think otherwise. That's why we try to keep ourselves on our own damn toes.
But sometimes I find my brain, when I have a certain thought, I'm like, what the fuck did I just think? I'm just surprised at my brain's own, I don't know what to call it, laziness.
Well, I don't know. There are times where I had my brain just kind of on. I'm gonna say that it was figuratively on autopilot while I was driving deliveries. I know. Just leave me alone for a second. And I would have these weird connections that would just kind of pop up into my head when my head was otherwise, in neutral. And suddenly I've got these connections that happen, ideas that came up for shows back in the, when I was still doing that. So, you know, yeah, I get that. But the problem that I've got here is this is this is a piece of information that's already been was already established and explained away way early on. And I have a hard time believing that even just asking your personal device what it means wouldn't give you the answer. I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and do it now because I don't want to piss off my phone, but really?
Well, if you think about how many drugs Ted Nugent has probably done in his lifetime, again,
Anecdotally speaking, I can believe that. Legally speaking, we really don't know. So,
At this point, that could only help.
it depends on which ones.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Now, politicians, on the other hand, they have no excuse.
No. It depends on the person and the position that they're in. I am not going to expect a town's mayor to be as knowledgeable as somebody
like,
perfect.
for example, the judge on the Supreme Court.
Okay.
We live in scary times. Maybe
Yes.
20 years ago, well, we'd expect a politician to be a little more aware, but if we can tell by the, what's her name? Who just got elected to she's still a freshman in Congress. The Green something. She's like,
if it's who I think that you're talking about, fair that we don't mention by name because it
okay.
does
Well,
not
anyways,
does not
I
need the
forgot.
oxygen.
Yeah. Well, just, they've been, there's been certain elements who've been pushing the stupid into the political system since 20 years. I think a good lot of the Republican Party are now firmly in place. Believers. I don't think they're aware of the evil they do.
There's
But we can't read other people's minds. That's the big problem. We can't.
No, you're right. We can't, but we can get a very good insight because of the old expression actions speak louder than words. And the actions that we end up seeing from, and it doesn't even have to necessarily be the American lowercase c conserve. No, should I say capital C conserve? Yes, I can in this particular case. The American capital C conservative people, because they are the same ones who, again, in Canada, the capital C conservative, which in Canada the Conservative Party is actually the Liberal group, and the Liberal group is actually the ones who conservative. Capital C conservatives, they don't. It's not that they're evil. It's that they are simply ambivalent to any and everyone else once they've got theirs.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, it is. Because I
But
had a
that's
coworker. I went into the office and I had a coworker. We were chatting, and he started to take his mask off, and I said, "Whoa!" And he goes, "Oh, it's okay. I've had my both my vaccination shots. I'm safe now." And I said, "No, you're not." I said, "You are not safe." And he goes, "Yeah, I am. I'm vaccinated." Now, mind you, this guy's got like 15, 20 years on me, so probably lived through getting his polio vaccination, and was probably equating it to something like that too.
eh,
But I had to explain to him that the vaccine just means that your probability of catching the virus has gone down, but it doesn't mean you're immune. It also means that if you do happen to catch the virus, you're less likely to die from it, not that you won't suffer.
if I can make a
And there is
slight comment.
absolutely nothing about the vaccine that prevents you from giving it to somebody else. That's what the mask is for.
Yes.
So please don't give it to me, who will in turn end up giving it to other people that I care about and killing them. And put your mask back on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Joseph.
the vaccination prevents you from being affected by the virus, doesn't prevent you from catching it. And
Oh.
yes, everybody's a spreader.
Yeah.
Yeah, it limits how much of it's going to affect you, but
But
it's
of
not
course,
going to. Yeah, it's not going to stop the affections completely.
I don't honestly, I don't know the science on that. If you have if you're exposed to the virus and you're vaccinated, um,
You might
is
get
it
it.
present in your system, or does
You're
your immune system kill it off, or I don't know the
so
potential spreading to other
You
people.
can still
Bridget, if you would be so kind.
you can
Yes.
still carry a viral load of it in your nose. Okay. And that's where the virus attaches itself, is in the endothelium of your, nasal passages and your, throat, stuff like that. That's how it gets into your body.
Which is why when they do the swab, in order to find out if you've got it, they've got to go way
Gotta
the hell
ram up.
back.
They dig for gold.
And the speculation at this point is that you're not going to carry as high of a viral load from it with the traditional, well, I'm not going to call it traditional, the wild type COVID. Um, but you can still carry that crap up there, and then with the variants going around, they attach more tightly to that tissue, and so that would theoretically cause you to carry a higher viral load. But as long as you have a viral load up in your nose, you're still contagious to other people.
And if you're wearing a mask,
Yeah, the mask keeps you from breathing that out on other people. But I know that, like, locally here, they've just totally given up. We're no longer under any kind of a mask mandate or anything. And my husband went to the pharmacy yesterday, and not a single farm tech or pharmacist or anything was wearing a mask.
and you
Really?
can't sterilize those pills without UVC radiation, and those devices are all questionable. And
But I'm like, why are the people in the pharmacy no longer masking up? They
Well-
should know better.
Well, wait a
Did
minute.
I
Wait,
hear-
wait. Hold on.
sorry.
Hold on just one second. Was this a chain pharmacy or an
Yes.
independent?
It was a CVS.
If CVS corporate had said and told them, do not, because that's in line with the, the
state,
whatever the local regulations are at this point, that's on CVS then. Or
I don't know if it was corporate or local decision, but I know that the state removed their mask advisory effective April 6th, and all I know is that the farm techs are no longer wearing masks.
yeah, and people are
And
going
I
to
think
die.
that's so stupid.
Joseph, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but please, by all means, go ahead.
No, I had a question about. Did I hear correctly earlier that there's a spike in the U.S. of cases?
Yes.
Yeah.
and
Yes.
Canada and Brazil and India.
Yeah, our cases went down for a while and then they tripled.
Because
In
people
spite
got
of-
relaxed.
In
Yeah.
spite of the vaccination, at the same time as the vaccination is happening.
Vaccinations are slow.
Okay,
They take
but
time.
Well,
Moderna, here's a case in point. Moderna, if you get the Moderna shot, you have to wait 4 weeks before you can get the second booster shot that's required for it. Even after you get the booster shot, they tell you, now that you've had the booster shot, you should stay isolated for an additional 2 weeks while your system normalizes. This is a total of 6 weeks, a month and a half, that you should be minimizing human contact despite getting these shots before going back out and mingling, so to speak. People aren't doing that. I have lost count of the amount of people who have gotten just their first shot alone and went, hey, let's go out to the pub and have a beer.
Yeah, it's all good.
And yeah, my pub, I've got a pub over by me that I was sitting in the parking lot of the shopping center waiting on my Chinese food order because the Chinese place is takeout only because they don't want their family members, because it's family owned, to get sick from the public, but they also don't want to get the public sick because they have excellent food and the public has been very good to them. So despite the people being ornery about having to wait outside or having to wear masks, they're still open because their food's that good. I was watching. There were people in there walking around, chatting with others, going to other people's tables. Sometimes they had a drink in their hand, sometimes they didn't. But they didn't have their masks on. And sure, the bartender had their mask on, and the waitstaff had their masks on, but they weren't enforcing the mask rule. And everybody that was in there was all happy. People were going out in the parking lot smoking cigarettes shoulder to shoulder instead of staying 6 feet back. They just
But
don't care.
do you see what I was saying about the Ted Nugent crowd earlier? It's just the same
Mhm.
thing again.
Yeah, they've got what they think is the silver bullet, even with just their first jab, and
Yeah.
they think, all right, good, it's all good now. Yeah, I do have to go in for the second one, but you know what? I got my first one. I'm good. I mean, if the virus comes near me at this point, I mean, it's just going to be effectively the same as the second one come in. I'll be fine.
I don't know where I heard it, but there was a term that came up. We're calling it all the time critical thought, but I heard it called metacognition, and that really clicked. And basically, it's thought about thought, or as I posted, uh, or in other terms, why the fuck did I just think that? Because what's really strange, I'd like to say this without sounding condescending as hell, but the Ted Nugent crowd and these people, socializing within the restaurant within a closed space, just basically being a risk. There's not much thought there. So I would almost call that reacting. People just doing social interactions and, kind of reacting to each other without much thought at all. So, as much as I like that term, metacognition, actually, the rabbit hole goes a little deeper than that, I think, because I think 90% of our thought processes are subconscious, and a good lot of what we do, I don't think we're really quite aware why we do it. It's only when we're confronted, when whatever we decided to do is confronted with an obstacle or something like that. It's only then that we seem to question our base processes, or whatever you want to call it. And well, yeah, To put it shortly, I'd like to see ourselves question our own behavior a little more a little more frequently than we do.
Yeah. Stephanie's got an interesting point over here. By the way, it also said that's why I put my prescriptions in quarantine when I get home. Everything is quarantined in my flat. Okay, you know, fortunately, you have that luxury to be able to do. Some people not so much. But be that as it may, it also said there is thought. It is called wishful thinking. They want things to be back to quote unquote normal, so they pretend it is. Yeah. Yeah, I brought back out a term that I had heard a long time ago called affluenza to describe how these people are behaving. It's not even a matter of being Karens. It's affluenza. I've got mine, so everything should be good because I got mine. So why don't I have what I have grown accustomed to?
Or grown accustomed to it. You know, I've said earlier, but and it again sounds super condescending as hell. But it's almost as though these people. Do you remember that time in your life when um, mom and dad were taking care of everything in your adolescent years?
Sure.
Well, at the same time, you had your quote unquote freedom, old enough to go out and do shit, have a few beers with your friends. At the same time as mom and dad were still paying for everything. I almost call this the golden age that everybody is quote unquote remembering, because it's kind of like people are stuck in this ideal state, and this is their I don't know what you call it, not carrot and stick, but that's their holy grail, getting back to that period, this time in their life. And that's why people are so nostalgic about always the past and all that. But this is just my personal opinion, but I really think that people are referring to this time in their lives when they're thinking about the golden age. It's like the age of no responsibility, basically. But if they really thought to it, and they thought about, well, actually, so that you could go have beers with your friends, you know, and have your quote unquote freedom while mom and dad had to slave 14 hours a day at the factory.
You know, the consequence part about this whole damn thing is a piece that we haven't really touched much on. And I think we really need to at this point. The consequence, and I forgive me for sounding melodramatic here, the consequence for these groups, the ones in Vancouver who are all up in a restaurant, unmasked, yelling at the people who are coming in with masks from the government for the safety of the people. Which, by the way, if anybody watched that video, you might notice that there is an infant on somebody's front while their whole thing is going on, too. God, I sincerely hope that that child is safe. But then you got the people that follow people like Ted Nugent. What happened to COVID's 1 through 18? Why didn't we close down for those? The consequence, again, forgive me for being melodramatic, is death. The consequence is death. Here's the melodramatic part, because that wasn't it. Or worse. What is happening to some of these people, arguably, long term, may even be worse. You've heard some of the stuff, Bridget. People having blood clots and scarring on on the heart and the lungs and blood vessels having problems or whatever the hell it is that's going on at this. I haven't even been able to keep track of all of that.
Yep. And also mental health problems.
Yes,
and
that's right. I forgot
psychosis.
about that one.
And one thing that they have discovered in the last couple of months or so is that it also causes some kind of a weird disorder to where your bone marrow blood cells can actually cross the blood-brain barrier and get into your brain. And that's absolutely not supposed to happen. That is not a thing. But with COVID, it's a thing.
Yeah, we're only beginning to see the quote-unquote long-term effects of, and we won't know the long-term effects for probably could be another 20 years.
Minimally 5.
Especially
that's
with these variants, we're having
worst
more children that are dying now.
There's people working on it.
Oh, absolutely. But the big problem of it is the vast majority of these problems that we're talking about that are being diagnosed are for adult populations. We really have no way of knowing at this point what it's going to end up doing to those kids that are still developing, not even maturing even. I mean, if it's screwing up, if it's got the long-term thing of, the brain blood barrier suddenly becoming the fourth wall in a Deadpool movie, that's gonna be a really bad day for whoever's left in the family to bury the kid.
They end up having cognitive issues, and that is being demonstrated now. So,
You know what? I think we should bring back funerals where whenever it's this funeral of a child, they put the white ribbons on the hearse and everything else. They used to be on the wagons and such.
That's what I'm unfamiliar with.
Yeah,
But
it's an old one, but it used to be back when there were horses and all that stuff. They'd do white ribbons for a kid in certain parts of the world, and I think they should do that. I think we should start having ones. Such and such state had this many child deaths, and such state had this many child deaths. Really start to hit home. Oh, but then again, wait, what am I thinking? There are so many people out there who just don't give a damn about other people's kids.
yeah,
well, we're having problems now with something called MIS-C in children who are getting COVID, and it's causing inflammation in their heart, lung, kidneys, brain, skin, eyes, and GI tract.
Yeah, they won't live a normal life, and they'll die young.
Um,
They'll have a shortened lifespan anyway.
yeah. Is there any indication of the virus affecting our basic genome? There's no cross
DNA?
Yeah.
um,
Is there any cross contamination?
Not that I've heard. But
You
then
mean
again,
like causing genetic problems?
Yeah.
Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
that are actually
Not that I'm aware of, but yeah, there's still a lot that we don't know.
yeah, there is the possibility of something like that eventually being detectable, but that's for if I'm thinking the same thing that you're thinking of. I remember hearing how the human genome sequencing went through finding what actually goes into making a human from all that, and it came out to something on the order of, I think it was like 20% was actually active encoding versus the rest of it all, which is just garbage effectively. But bits and pieces of it, if you'll pardon the expression, were actually like leftover pieces of old viruses that ended up, latching part of their genetic information into the DNA strands, and they've just kind of come through over successive generations. They don't do anything, they've just kind of there as little bookmarkers. That's the kind of thing you're talking about.
Kind of like graffiti.
That that is not a bad analogy. It's not a bad analogy.
Well, it's a fun one, but I'm not sure it's so accurate. But yeah, we were here. Like a fossil. I don't know. But
Well,
I'm wondering, so if there's certain, viruses that are, I should just shut up because I don't know enough about this to talk about this. But yeah, if the virus is doing damage to your system, you have to find the cause of the damage of its deformities because of genetic
yeah,
mutation, or whether because the body can repair itself if its genome if the genome's still intact, it can more or less. Yeah, I'm just gonna shut up.
Human body's not that great at repairing certain kinds of damage.
Yeah, then I was thinking the scar tissue because yeah, that's the human body trying to repair itself, but all the damn cells are together wrong.
Long story short, you get COVID, you're going to have something when you're done. You don't know if it's going to be something that's obvious or not. It might be something 20 years down the road. We can't tell because we haven't been 20 years down the road. We don't have a time machine. We don't have a looking glass, so to speak. But what we do know is that there are people who got hit with COVID back at the beginning of 2020 who haven't had it since then, who are still having the side effects of it.
Yep.
Everything from shortness of breath to heart problems to cognitive functions to fine motor control. I mean, it's almost like some of these people have developed basically the equivalent of cerebral palsy.
Well, if you want to take anything from my 2 minutes of n'importe quoi, just yeah, we don't know yet, and yeah, I've got lots of questions.
So it's more than likely better to not get the virus at all
oh, absolutely.
Oh, jeez.
than to get it at all. So the more people who avoid the virus, the more people who get immunized. Oh, look, the likelihood of variants goes down.
Wait
The
a second.
likelihood of passing it around goes down. The likelihood of diminishing, negatively affecting other people's lives goes down. What does it cost you? Oh, I want to talk to somebody face to face instead of through a camera. I'm tired of wearing a mask and having to not talk at the same time as somebody else because now I actually have to listen to what they have to say because they're not as loud as they were before. I actually heard that one, by the way.
Actually, what's most annoying is that through social media, you can have somebody in front of you and basically ignore everything they're saying that's coming out of their mouth if you're just observing their body language. And I think that's a large part of human communication.
I'm
the
feeling
people I feel
personally
sorry
called out
for?
now.
The people I feel sorry for are the ones who have to read lips. Those are the ones I feel bad for. I don't feel bad for the guy with the big ass pickup truck and the gun rack and all that other crap going out every other weekend hunting whatever saying I can't breathe in a mask. You snowflake you. I'm not a snowflake. The masks are repressive. You're a snowflake because if you go down such and such street and you knock on such and such door, there's a little lady with a compromised immune system who has an extremely bad case of asthma, who literally carries 2 inhalers on her every day, and she wears double the mask that you do. And one of them is the medical mask, which is more restrictive than that piece of frickin' stretch cloth you wear around your mouth, which is actually worse than wearing a bandana. Don't get me started on those people either.
What these people don't like is change.
They want, yeah.
That's That's part of it.
It's part of it.
Yeah, that wasn't part of my indoctrination. It wasn't,
Or they
you know,
they want to believe what they hear that makes them feel comfortable.
well,
It's all a conspiracy by the Democrats.
they like to get their directives from quote unquote trusted sources. And if a rule imposed on them doesn't come from a trusted source, I would really like to see the difference between a reaction, you know, the reaction of a quote unquote believer who's told they have to wear a mask by one, their preacher, or two, a Democrat. Just watch the comparison between the two. Watch the difference in reaction.
I've seen it. I can tell you what happens.
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly what happens, at least down here in the southern part of my state. Their authority suddenly starts telling them to wear a mask at all times. Oh, they've started drinking the Kool-Aid from the other guys. We're not going to be able to listen to them. We're going to have to find a new church, or we're going to have to find a new group of people to hang out with.
Ooh, I don't quite agree.
Oh, it happens down here, dude. Why do you
Yeah,
think we have these spikes in this country?
Yeah, but authorities are.
The
Once the
authorities.
authority stops being the echo chamber that you desire, what do you think people shop
Yeah,
around
this-
for churches?
There's never just one.
Never just
That's the
one
thing.
one.
I mean, that's really something it's going to take time to look at. But I mean, a person can have, a dozen authority figures, and they can all more or less say the same thing. But as soon as one becomes a dissident, so to speak,
You just answered your own question.
yeah, they're rejected.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're part of the out group. They're not part of the clan anymore.
They're actually worse because they are now the turncoats.
Oh, they dared offend and question.
Yeah, they changed their opinion. This is why there are so many people down where I live that say they can't trust Dr. Fauci, because he's changed his opinion he's changed his guidance too many times. At the beginning of the virus, he said we didn't have to wear a mask unless we wanted to make ourselves feel better. And now it's all we have to all mask up. I was like, dude, that happened like at the start of 2020, back when we didn't know all the details about this thing. And just like everything else, when you learn more details, the guidance tends to change. Well, I can't trust him.
That's so stupid. Okay, this is a really ridiculously stupid scenario, but imagine, Hunter's gonna go out, and get food for the day, and before leaving, he says to everyone, "Hey, tigers aren't dangerous." And then he comes back with an arm missing, and he goes, "Oh, guys, that thing I said earlier about tigers not being dangerous. I'd like to change my mind on that a bit."
The difference is that guy came back with missing an arm.
No,
Imagine he came back.
Doesn't matter.
You're missing.
Yeah.
Totally missing my point.
Yeah, you're because these religious authority figures who have all gone ahead and said no, it's not real, it's all a big hocus pocus, and have gotten sick and have gone ahead and turned and said, guys, this is the real deal. They've been shoved aside.
And shunned even.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that back then, when it was, us against nature, the consequences of spreading false information or coming to presumptuous assumptions or anything like that, that was actually...
It wiped out a tribe is what it did.
Yeah, potentially.
But we can't, it's not going to wipe out a tribe here, because we now
No.
put warning labels on things.
We're too fucking comfortable.
But what you're saying about how it's not going to wipe out a tribe, yeah, it most assuredly will, because there are isolated groups who are in their both figurative and, I can't say literal bubbles. They're figurative social bubbles. They're authority bubbles where they will believe to the very last one of them. And they will end up with Bridget. What was the percentages on people contracting? Do you remember?
Percentages of contracting. What do you mean?
Well, in an overall general population, the likelihood of transmission. All right, here as an example, a Roman Catholic church, which has a tendency of having much older population these days, who will end up sharing a chalice of watered down wine, even though it's wiped every time somebody uses it. If they continue with the way that things had gone, I'm assuming that the likelihood of infection goes up significantly if they stayed with the traditional method that they'd been doing.
I would have to think about that. I know your chances of catching it are based on, like, space and time. But they've, since also changed the definition of what an exposure is too, which is kind of interesting because, at first they were saying that if you were around someone who was positive, that you needed to be around them for about 15 minutes to catch it. And now they're saying that's not necessarily the case, that it can be like a total of 15 minutes exposure at various points and it's cumulative. So I don't know. I really don't know. What I do know is the amount of cases that we have is probably way underestimated.
Yeah, we've kind of thought that for a while now because
Yeah.
of the way that everything had been going on.
And testing has gone way down, and I don't think it's because there's fewer cases. I think people are just not bothering to be tested.
Yeah, yeah, because at this point, why bother if you're just going to get the vaccination? Because
Hmm.
once the vaccination goes in, the expectation is you've got immunity. You're done, which is bullshit because,
The variants,
well, amongst other things,
just to begin with.
yeah. But I,
Well,
I mean,
and there's no treatment for some of them too. I can't remember if it was the California variant 1 or 2, because they've got two now that share certain aspects of the one that was found in UK and the other one that was found in Brazil that have become like a double mutation kind of a thing. But the people who were coming down with that, part of those mutations will evade any of the monoclonal antibody treatments. So, yeah, there's that.
yeah,
And what I was saying earlier about the tribes not getting wiped out, I'm thinking in terms of the traditional sense where tribes were separated out, they had distance, they didn't have instant communications, that sort of thing. One tribe might or village might be trading with another, and then one day, well, none of the traders from the other village showed up. Well, they need to send somebody to investigate. Nobody's there. They're all gone. They're all dead. Okay. They might bring it back and wipe out the other tribe, and then those two tribes are gone, and nobody's around to continue carrying the virus around. So, however many viruses have died out because of scenarios like that, we have no way of knowing. But in today's day and age, your tribe can be shifting, just like the concept of family can shift. There are plenty of people who have families that are made up of people who have zero blood relations, whether it's due to adoptions, whether it's due to an agreed upon brotherhood or sisterhood, just due to
family of choice.
exactly. And so you might have a group of 200 people in a church who are all drinking the Kool-Aid and not getting the shots, not wearing the masks and everything. And suddenly, a bunch of them start to die out. But don't forget, there's going to be random people who are going to have tolerance and resistance and possibly even immunity. And if their tribe gets too small, they'll go online and find others like them. And it makes it really easy for them to bring that tribe's numbers back up again. That echo chamber continues to thrive. That's something that we didn't have before technology. So this wonderful system of communications, this wonderful ability to convey ideas and thoughts and experiences is also a double-edged sword. I'm not saying get rid of it. I'm not saying regulate it, all that other crap. That's another story, another conversation for another day. But what I am saying is it does assist in helping those who would misuse it to promote bad ideas.
Yeah.
And like a hammer that has fallen on your toe, the hammer has no feelings. The hammer is just a tool. Just because you misused it and got hurt by it doesn't mean it's the hammer's fault.
We've
Freaking dead horse.
we've dealt with this for over a year. Over a year. And there is at least one country, at least, that didn't need to fix this with new biotech. All Australia, no, sorry, not Australia, it was New Zealand. All they did was say, hey, look, this is bad. This is spreading by contact. We need to keep everybody secure and safe and separate from everybody else for a little while so that we can get this cleared out. And they did it. It took them, 3 months? Gone. They starved it out. They literally starved out the virus because they cared. Because they cared enough to work at it hard for 3 months. We said it before. The United States doesn't do anything proactively, or at the very least, hasn't in a very long time. We are very much a country of everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. Oh my God, turn left! Yeah, I mean, prove to me that I'm wrong. Anytime. Seriously.
I-95, I-35, I-495, I-80, I-81. Highways that I've traveled where you're absolutely correct.
And this is why I will never drive in and around Boston ever again. Never again.
I'll never go into DC in my own car.
I don't blame you.
Somebody else's? Maybe. Walk
No.
and take the metro? Definitely. As long as the metro is not on fire that day.
I mean, Australia did a really good job of handling theirs too.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I think really attributed to Australia doing well is the fact that their health people and their law enforcement, they have this kind of attitude of, we don't have time for this crap. We don't have time for your BS.
Yep.
So here's what we're going to do. You're breaking the law? We're going to crack down. And you got two options. Do what needs to be done or pay the price. And we're not here to negotiate. We're here to tell you, this is what's going on.
And
you have 30 seconds to comply, to quote a movie.
Yeah, they had to clamp back down recently, but like where one of my friends lives, it's like, so OMG, we have 6 active cases. Shut everything down. Boom. That's how they're keeping it under control. And if they tell you to wear a mask, if you don't have one, you're doing some time and you're forking over a whole bunch of money. And they're not playing.
But here's the question. Is it working?
Yeah.
Nice and simple. It's a simple question, simple answer.
And here's
Anybody
here's
coming in had to have a 14-day quarantine, just, no question about it. And that's how they have kept it under check.
and here's one of the best parts about that. The people aren't being told that they can't complain. See, I have listened to so many people say, well, they're trying to silence me by making me wear a mask. I was like, well, last time I checked, first off, you just made that statement while wearing a mask and I could hear you. So you're not being silenced. And second, if you look at other countries who are doing it, they're still bitching about wearing a mask. They're just doing it. You still have a right to bitch and moan here in the U.S. to bitch and moan while wearing your mask. Nobody's saying you can't. Nobody's saying that you can't say, oh, I hate this. I don't want to wear this. I feel that I shouldn't have to. Okay, those are all fine, valid statements. But you do need to, or you're going to kill someone.
Well,
Yeah.
they don't care. But the thing that I find hilarious is now they're talking about possibly giving some kind of ID or having a system where people who've been fully vaccinated can, fly without any hassles or attend concerts or things like that. And these people now are going, well, that's so unfair if they get that privilege because it's shutting us off from participating in active society. And it's like, cry a little or die mad, will you? Because you've kind of shut us off from society for the past year because you can't wear a fucking mask.
Yeah, and it's fair for us to go ahead and bitch, moan, and complain about wearing a mask because we've had to wear a goddamn mask for a year plus in the United States, a year plus in Canada, a year plus in most of the world, a year plus. But
Why can't we be more like New Zealand?
Because people here don't want a mask, and some of them have been anti-mask the whole time.
Yep.
And now they're whining because, well, I don't want to get the vaccine, and that's not going to be fair if I can't do X, Y, and Z because other people have their vaccines.
die
And it's
mad.
Like, yeah, die mad. I don't care.
Go pound sand.
If you're an anti-vaxxer and anti-masker, then, I don't care that you're excluded. Good.
If you're an anti-vaxxer and an anti-masker, please give your child to a responsible adult to be taken care of, and then
Go die in a fire.
Yeah.
jump in a well.
I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Yes, you did.
I said the outside thing.
It's like
inside thing.
you're not the ones being discriminated against. I mean, you know what you need to be doing. I don't feel like you have any complaints.
Here are the rules. Follow the rules, you get to do with everybody else. Don't follow the rules, and you don't. It's as simple as, I don't know, kindergarten kids learn this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-K learn this. Head Start kids learn this for those states that have Head Start programs. There are children who are more aware and more proactive against COVID than adults. And that makes me happy for the younger generation because, hey. But we also have to take into account that many of these kids will have their opinions eventually swayed by the adults that they hang around with, by the communities that they live in, that, all these adults aren't wearing their mask and they're all saying it's bad. I guess my teacher was wrong, or I guess that doctor was wrong, or that nurse was wrong. Because there are more adults here who are disagreeing with that one person. And all those people aren't doctors. But that part gets lost.
Basically, kids are, they have more critical thought.
For a while, yeah.
Will and ability than a lot of adults, because, like you said, eventually that just gets crushed out of them.
Yeah.
Well, if you question the status quo, then the status quo is going to reject you, and That's pretty scary, especially for a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've had the psychology experiments where infants were shown situations and how they reacted to it was measured. Things like the puppets hitting other puppets, the old Punch and Judy kind of things, and the kids, very young kids, were asked questions about how they felt about the who was
Puppet on
hitting
puppet
who,
violence.
and they knew from an early age that it was wrong. We've talked about the psych examinations with empathy with fucking rats, for Christ's sake, and they've shown the ability of having empathy and sympathy and reasoning. I mean, the fact that this illogic, that this ill will, that this, I don't want to say animus towards fellow humanity, but this absolute ambivalence towards it is still something that is still being bred into us as a society. That hurts.
If you don't know how to judge the value of anything for yourself, you only have your own level of comfort as a reference, and all those around you, the behavior of those around you, and that's it. I mean, there's absolutely no accountability, no responsibility, and no judgment going on there at all.
And no way to fix them.
No,
No,
It's
we're
just-
not taking them to the vet.
no. It's quote unquote fixable, but
You have to neutered?
it takes time.
Yeah, it takes generations, and
No.
it takes teachers.
No.
It takes education.
Well, yes, to put all those pieces into play, but I mean, for those that are growing up and they are in the circles where they don't learn all of the scientific fact and they get poo-pooed away and they get kept in their little padded room, eventually over time that stuff doesn't hold water when it gets critically investigated because it gets slammed into their face. Bridget, right? You know I was coming back around to you. You know I was making a specific dig about your past.
Okay.
You get sheltered away from all this stuff, and eventually, in this day and age of information, this information, scientific reality, eventually wins out.
Yeah. As long as you look for the right information.
Well, sometimes you don't have too much of a choice.
What do you mean, right information?
Well, there's a lot of disinformation out there too.
Agreed.
Oh, God, yeah.
Agreed. But what I mean by right information, and that's a fair cop. It's a fair cop. Information that we know through successive investigations is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. My having said right information, yeah, that was a bad choice of terms. That was a bad word choice on my part, and I will cop to that. But eventually, you have to, eventually, stuff gets learned, whether it's wanted or not. I mean, okay, sooner or later, somebody that doesn't know about the dinosaurs or the millions upon millions of years of life being on this planet, maybe, just maybe, eventually somebody is going to go ahead and ask, where does gasoline come from? Never really thought about it. Where does it come from? And that kind of thing can simply go on and on from there. Okay, it comes from the ground. The ground gets it from the tanker. The tanker gets it from the refinery. The refinery gets it from another pumping station. The pumping station gets it from underground. The underground got it because, oh, wait a minute, what? You know,
Yeah.
sooner or later there is an investigation. We are a curious species when all is said and done.
But you have a point there, because most people do not think to all of that. They just think about, oh shit, I have to pay another $50 to fill up my tank, and it doesn't go longer than that. But it doesn't go any further than that.
Do I have enough fuel in my car to go get my $5 cup of coffee?
My convenience,
Yeah,
my bubble.
yeah.
Oh, I just mentioned the right information because I got into, well, I don't have time to argue with people who are willfully ignorant. I mean, I will rebut them once, and then if they keep coming back at me, then I just walk away because life is too short. But got into an argument with somebody who was telling me that, I had bought into the lie and all this other stuff on COVID and told me I needed to go watch the documentary Plandemic and get a clue.
Wait. What was the
Like,
name of
oh,
that? Plandemic?
Plandemic, and it's right-wing conspiracy bullshit, and it's so blatant that Facebook, YouTube, every other place keeps taking it down. But they
It's
told
a
me I needed.
conspiracy.
Well, they told me I needed to go watch that and figure out what's, real, and that Dr., Fauci is responsible for COVID, and it was created in a lab, and this nurse who made this documentary had all the puzzle pieces and all the proof. And I've seen it, and I was like, that is just conspiracy bullshit. Yes, I have seen it. And they're like, well, what part of it specifically is wrong? And I'm like, just fuck off.
Yeah, but
Well-
if you follow that far enough, I mean, it basically always comes back to, well, I haven't experienced it yet, so it's not true.
Well, I'm not going to waste time arguing with somebody who buys into that and have me specifically point out what is wrong with that movie and what's not factual. Just no.
And it's not a case of, in defense of Bridget not taking the time to point stuff out. Having tried to converse with people like that before,
A waste of time.
it's a waste of time because they ultimately end up moving the goalposts over and over and over again. You point out the first factually problematic statement, and they go, well, and they start trying to protect it. And then when they realize that it's a losing ground for them, they move on to the next one and dismiss the first one that they used as, oh, well, let's just move on to the next one because the next one proves it. And they keep doing that over and over and over again. And finally, when you get through the entire list, they tell you you're wrong anyway.
We've seen this behavior in creationists.
Trump.
Like creationists, I mean, some of these people, you could bury them in evidence, and they'll still deny. I mean,
Yeah.
The world is flat.
Well, I mean, they're still adamant that masks are going to kill you if you wear them, and you just can't argue with people like that.
No.
We should get the flat earthers, the anti-maskers, and the anti-vaccine people, like, to go to the same conference at the same time.
To line them up with a whole bunch of cats and just watch the cats bap them off the edge of everything. That'd be great. The people like that don't like to argue with me after a while, because I've done on many an occasion on Facebook. They want to go ahead and they want to move past a point, and me, I pound a stake in the ground. I'm just like, no, we're not moving past this point until we clarify it. Don't go moving off to something else. You stick right here with me, right here, right now. And if you don't want to do that, then you can just go ahead and piss off a rope, up, whatever, die in a fire. That one's easier. Go fuck dirt. I don't care. But I am not leaving from this
Pound
spot
sand.
until we've got this right.
Well, there's no point in arguing any further if they're not going to listen to a basic point.
Well, there is a certain point where I know full well that it's no longer about trying to convince them. It's a matter of showing anyone and everyone else around this is how stupid it all is. So that's why I don't end up getting angry, because I can't. Because when they get to that point, it's just a matter of, okay, here you go. Here, let me keep feeding you your line. Go ahead. Here's your rope. Keep going. Keep going. I don't care. Let everybody else see how much of a tool you are.
And that's a problem. You say, "Oh, let's see everybody. Just go ahead and keep showing the world how insane and crazy you are." Well,
to
now they get together and they have conventions and they work their way into various medical fields and stuff and try to claim that their feelings outweigh the science, and they know this because maybe they worked in that field for a time. I mean, it's just nuts, man. It's absolutely nuts. The only thing we can do is continue to provide better educations for our children, provide the vaccines for those who are willing to take it, avoid the people who refuse to do so when we're aware of them, take the precautions that we can take, and hope that we live through it. Because there are just so many freaking crazy people out there who think this is all a joke.
Yeah, and you're right that you may have a differing opinion with them, but they just have to go back to their quote-unquote plan where everybody's in groupthink and they all think the same, and they're comfortable again.
Yeah, it's damned annoying. We're getting pretty close to needing to close up.
I got nothing else.
Okay, that makes that easy.
While I was gone, I did look at the numbers, and for Canada, holy shit.
It's gotten a little out of hand, has it?
Yep. Hello, Spike.
Yeah.
And France is almost at the top of the list for the number of cases. Though
Please
I would
stay
like
safe,
to see
man.
per capita numbers put a little more on priority.
Yeah, it's a little. It's safe to say it's a little nuts. Bridget, was there anything left over for you?
No.
That's fair. And any actual last item for you, Joe?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Let me close it with this, and it's real simple. It's real short. It's real to the point. If we're going to talk about consequences, here is one consequence I do not want to be part of. I do not want to be the reason Betty White dies from COVID.
Yeah.
Isn't that good enough reason? She's a goddamn national treasure. Smart as a whip, funny as hell, takes no prisoners. We need to keep her as long as possible. We couldn't keep Ruth Bader Ginsburg long enough. We can at least
Is she
keep
afflicted?
her. Who? Ruth?
Oh no, Betty.
No. And I want to keep
She's
it that
still
way.
alive.
Yeah. She's still alive. I think she's 99.
Yeah.
She's older than sliced bread.
Yes, she is. And you know what?
It's awesome.
Not a power 10. Can't say it. Can't say what I'm thinking. But I'll tell I'll tell the hosts after we close up. So, with that out of the way, everybody, thank you very much for being with us. We hope that you had yourself a good time listening and found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives for you for tonight. Stephanie, Fearless, guys, thank you. And Stephanie, yeah, Stephanie's, reminding children need to be aware they will suffer long-term consequences for decades. Yeah, and the sad part of it is, I really wonder what kind of consequences the parents are going to have from allowing that to have happen, if it was their choices that made it have happen. But that's another thing for another night. We'll see how that plays out. We'll see how
Yeah,
that plays
heart
out.
damage you cannot fix. Your cardiac cells do not replicate and reproduce. I mean, that's just a fact.
And like you said, that blood-brain barrier going all Deadpool fourth wall, that's gonna be a really bad day. And who knows if or when that's gonna happen or how. We'll see. Joseph, thank you. Glad you're able to make it, man. You take good care of yourself. Stay safe out there.
Yeah, you too, sir.
No worries. Tech, you too, man. You hold yourself together.
Working on it, man.
See, there's a bright side. Me knowing about the tech industry with tech, I know full well that worst case scenario. I know full well that even if tech finally said I can't stand it anymore and stripped off all the wires off of networking cable, he couldn't electrocute himself by putting 2 sets of wires in each hand and trying to that's not going to do it.
You do realize if I really wanted to electrocute myself, I have so many options. I'd actually probably not be able to do it because of decision fatigue.
Yes, I know. But hey, look at the bright side. You could always go and break into some kid's beefed up Subaru and get the 1 farad capacitor, charge it up, and just zap it against your chest, and that'll do it for you. For anybody that's wondering, 1 farad, how bad could that be? You have no idea.
I mean, if I want to look on the bright side of things, between my flashlight connection and I could just take some, I don't know, 24 gauge wire and stick it in an electric socket.
Your what?
That would make it bright for a little bit.
Your flashlight. Oh, flashlight. Oh, sorry.
Okay. We're just going to go ahead and clean edit point right there. Thank you.
Hey, Dom, fix that one in post.
Yeah, good luck on that one. And
Sorry.
no, you're not. Don't lie to me.
Okay,
Remember,
so as a kid, I did something incredibly stupid. I lived through it, but I learned a lesson about electricity. And that was, I took the light bulb out of my lamp. I had the lamp unplugged and I had the lamp turned off because I had a old-fashioned hard switch. And I wired up the connections inside where the bulb goes because I wanted to see what happened to a wire that was thicker than the filament in the lamp bulb, but it was exposed to air rather than whatever gas was in a light bulb or whatever wasn't in there. I figured it would probably be brighter. And it might not last very long, but at least it would be bright. And then I plugged it in. Then I turned it on. And it was pretty bright. And so was the almost fire I started when the 2 hot ends split, or when the wire split down the middle, and then it draped over the side and started to land onto the carpet, which I was lucky to be able to put out before there was a serious fire. And I learned my lesson. Electricity is not to be played with when it comes out of an electric socket like that.
yes, when the electricity drips down the side, you're gonna have a bad day.
Bad day. I still put 9 volts on my tongue though for a while there.
Yeah, well, you're weird ass, whatever.
I was weird.
Bridget, hon, you have yourself hopefully a safe week. And you by the way, I didn't ask. You guys didn't have any snow this week, did you?
No,
Good.
no.
No, not. We didn't have any here either. So you have yourself a healthy week, and you take care of yourself, huh?
You too.
So who are we gonna pick on this week? Because I know who's my poster child.
Well, I mean, fuck Mike Pence, but also Matt Gaetz and Ron DeSantis and the former guy.
Yeah.
All the Trumplicans.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the ones that want to say, hey, look at what a great job we did with this new revised CDC report.
Uh-huh.
On
Yeah,
behalf
I saw that.
on behalf of all of us, past, present, and future hosts for this show, may I be the first to wholeheartedly say to each and every one of you, fuck you!
Yeah.
See, every once in a while, it's good to say the inside thing out.
Oh, so I can talk about that thing I'm not supposed to talk about now?
Not yet. After
Okay.
I've gone ahead and hit
Okay.
the button.
Okay.
So, as always, everyone, thank you very much for being with us. And if you would like to get in touch with us, all of our contact information is over at holycrapthevlogcast.com, including the link for downloading the audio version of the show. Phone number, if you'd like to leave us voicemail messages, 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. And we will see you soon. Please be safe out there. Everyone, please be careful. And we'll be looking forward to talking again next week. We'll, who knows? Maybe the show's topic has already been chosen because the news cycle is the way that it is. We'll see what happens. So until next time, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And my lady, 15 years on, I am still in love with you. Matane Fujin, I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Until the next time we get together, everyone, as always, good night.